There we go. Okay. So, Asperix does R&D, and we've used commercial SDRs for as long as we've been around, and they do a great job for us. But sometimes we have cases where there's no commercial SDR to do the job. I think John Orlando touched on a couple of those cases earlier today. So because of that, we decided, let's build our own SDR. How hard could it be? All of the people who design SDRs for a living are chuckling at me right now. But what we did was built a 5 to 20 gigahertz, 160 meg sample a second SDR from scratch. I put some green check marks by the things that worked out the way that we hoped. So we do have a radio. You can do things that are hard to do otherwise. We can customize it for different applications. It was absolutely interesting and fun. And I've told other people this, our time and cost estimates for doing this were each about 3 dB low. So we took a look at what was out there. As I said, we've used mostly Edis radios, but several other types for quite a while. So we have opinions about what we like and what we don't. And we decided we were going to do something that kind of echoed the old school Edis designs, like the N200 or the X300, where there was a break between the digitizing or network interfacing stuff and the analog stuff, and you could put analog cards on. So the modern equivalent of the baseband INQ that those Edis radios used, we chose to use the JESD204B. So we have a digital connector to the JESD204B, and all the networking stuff is on the other side. That has worked out very well for us. I was pleased. Sometimes you make design decisions and they don't turn out to be good ideas. This has turned out to be a good idea for us. So first implementation, what are you going to do? Let's try to build something that you can't easily get commercially. And that's a 5 to 20 gigahertz radio with reasonably high sample rates. I mean, this is kind of in the same ballpark as a lot of other decent performing SDRs. And a lot of work later. That's the board. Some of you have seen it if you're here in person. If you would like to see it again, I know it's such a thrill. See me afterwards. This is what's on the board. So this sort of mislabeled analog board also includes the converters. And because JESD204B is a very flexible interface, you can actually have different numbers of channels going over a single JESD link. So we can reuse the digital side for things with different bandwidths. And we can change the analog side to cover things like different frequencies. We could, in fact, if we wish, this is a 1-channel transmit, 1-channel receive board. We could actually make a 2-channel transmit, 2-channel receive board and use the JESD204 links that we have to carry that to the FPGA. And our interface is 10 gigabit Ethernet. We've been quite pleased with that as well. It's a good, solid, reliable interface, not like some other interfaces whose initials are USB. So as I said, we have opinions based on long use of other commercial SDRs. So there's actually on the web at www.asperix.io, there are the measurements. And this is not a absolutely greatest performing microwave radio you've ever seen. This is a decent microwave radio, especially for the price. Everything works the way we intended. And the lessons learned are probably, I think if I were talking to a 2 or 3 year ago version of me, these are the things that I think might be most interesting. It's hard to, there's a lot of SDRs, right? If you're gonna build it to have something that is unique. Build it to do something you can't do otherwise. It's very hard, by the way, to build an SDR that's cheaper in its performance category than existing commercial SDRs. The software part is, it should have been obvious from the beginning. It's a software-defined radio. But the software, and particularly getting the design of how's the radio controlled, how does it handle data, how does it handle errors, we benefited tremendously from 11 years of experience using UHD and from looking at other specs like Vita49. And it's a great thing that that stuff is all out there. And finally, I'd say classic advice to people starting a business is don't do it unless you can go 2 years without money. So my version of that advice to people building an SDR is don't do it unless you can tolerate 3 dB of cost and schedule. And especially don't try to do it in the middle of a pandemic and a breakdown of the global semiconductor supply chain. So that's it. I mentioned the www.vesperix.io website or the email here on the slide. We honestly don't know if anyone is interested in this radio who doesn't work for us. And so if it might be of interest to you, or if you have questions about it, or if you happen to be here in person and you'd like to see it again, get in touch. And thanks. I hope I have not blown my time away. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them. Next slide. Okay, good. And I'm probably over my time anyway, but thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Tom.